Care in downtown Hennepin.
This is the morning sports desk for Tuesday, November 21st. Well, another day in Minnesota sports as we're kind of in that little lull before we get to the Prep Bowl coming up towards the end of the week and into the weekend, and winter sports hasn't quite fully picked up across central Minnesota. We're still kind of working on those things, but there's a lot of state sports to talk about. And as we let Corey Tackman get settled in here today, hey, Corey, joining us today, we have kind of an interesting little situation here. We were just talking about Gopher football because, of course, the Axe is the Battle for the Axe is on Saturday.
Better dead than red, baby.
Better dead than red. And the question kind of got brought up to you. Would you rather make a bowl game? It is a binary option. Would you rather make a bowl game or keep the Axe?
You know, my heart wants to say I just would rather keep the Axe away from stupid Wisconsin. But bowl eligibility is not it shouldn't be that difficult. Now,
not in today's college football, no.
Now, do I think the Gophers are going to get a bowl game even if they lose to Wisconsin? I do. There's 6 million bowl games. But technically, the Gophers are not bowl eligible, which means they could not get a bowl game in the year of 2023, the year of our Lord.
Because 6 wins is typically that threshold of getting a bowl game. It has been historically. Like you said, they've increased the amount of bowl games because TV revenue conquers all. So some 5-win teams, they say it's like based on your team GPA. Whatever. Basically, they look at your market. Power 5 school, 5 wins. Yeah, sure, we'll get you out in a bowl game somewhere.
I really do think that they'll get a bowl game. The fact of the matter is, as of right now, they're not bowl eligible, which means they have to beat Wisconsin, which would be the 3rd year in a row, I think.
Yep.
That'd be fun. They'd keep the Axe. That would be fun. It would get them to 6 wins. It's been a not fun season. Here's a great take I heard.
Mm-hmm.
I'd never heard it put quite so succinctly as this, but it was said to me, bowl eligibility is the minimum requirement of keeping your job as a head coach.
Interesting.
And I have a hard time disagreeing with that.
I can't say I do either. So,
5 wins.
5 wins.
And that's what they're at. Okay, so 6 wins. They would finish at 500.
Yep.
You gotta be 500 and get to a bowl to keep your job.
Well, especially considering of where PJ Fleck is at, right? This isn't year 0. This isn't year 1. This isn't even year 2. This is year 7.
Right.
You can't be scratching and clawing your way to 6 wins. I understand the Gophers had the 3rd toughest schedule coming into FBS at the start of the season. That doesn't excuse losses to Illinois. That doesn't excuse losses to Northwestern. That certainly doesn't excuse just some of the what they got just absolutely boat raced by Purdue. So it doesn't excuse any of those things. Those were all games on the schedule. It's like, okay, the Gophers have a chance to win those. And they took themselves out of each contest. And this isn't a fire PJ Fleck thing. I'm certainly not on that bandwagon. But what I am to say is, if he doesn't make a bowl game this year, wouldn't be shocking. It wouldn't be unprecedented to let somebody go. Now the Gophers won't do that, but
all right,
if he misses 2 years in a row, that seat should be pretty hot.
Let me throw a scenario at you then. Let's say they make a bowl game, they get a bowl game with only 5 wins this year.
Mm-hmm.
And next season they do the exact same thing. Only 5 wins, they get a bowl game. Is he fired then?
It's
might be the how they do in those bowl games is the answer to that.
It might depend, and it might depend on who they end up playing. If they play like a school from the Sun Belt and lose, it's not necessarily a good look for the program.
Yeah, I was gonna say if you go so you end the regular season with 5 wins, you get a bowl game, you win both of those bowl games for the next 2 years, so you end with 6 wins.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to end at 6-7.
Yeah.
Would be your final record in both of those seasons.
Mm-hmm.
Below 500, he might not. He's going to have his job at the end of this year.
Yeah.
At this time next year, if we're in this exact same spot, he might be done.
Well, the schedule will be a lot softer next year.
He might not even coach in the bowl game next year if that's the case.
Yeah, and
right.
And look, PJ Fleck has done a lot for this school. Obviously, giving them a New Year's Day bowl, giving them an Outback Bowl win. That like a huge moment for the program, but also, Corey, that was 4 years ago now. An entirely new crop of students are there.
I want to be very upfront about this.
Yeah.
When PJ first got here, I was pretty out on the rah-rah stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I was pretty out on it. I over time have been proved incorrect on that. What he has, it seems very evident the guys want to play for him. It seems very evident that team GPA and team unity and everything that's important that's not football is as good as it's ever been.
Mm-hmm.
And at some point also coaching matters.
Right.
So if we were having this conversation 6 years ago, I would have been like, this guy's annoying. I still think some of that's annoying, but I'm willing to accept that I'm wrong because it's all the stuff he did with Casey O'Brien that went very public. Like, that stuff really matters. It's very important. And I will never discredit that from this point forward. It really matters.
Yeah.
And I would want to play for a coach like that. At some point, the coaching has to also matter.
At some point, you have to win football games.
You are the head coach.
And at some point,
right? You're not the head cheerleader. You're not the head recruiter. You're not the head of morality and moral victories. You're the head coach where actual victories are important.
Uh-huh. And here's the final thing I'll say on this so we can move on to the next topic. But yeah, he's done a good job recruiting. He's done a good job with all that program stuff. But at the same time, you can be all as rah-rah as you want. But when you play the most boring style of football I've ever seen in my life, when you are all the rah-rah of a cheerleader, but yet all of the charisma on the field of Kirk Ferentz and Iowa, not even Kirk Ferentz, his son Brian, who's getting ousted as offensive coordinator of the Hawkeyes. When that's your offensive identity, it's bad. When you have a quarterback as your captain that you don't trust to throw the football, what are you doing?
And if you're doing that because you don't think your team is capable of doing anything else, you've almost been there a decade.
Right, exactly. They walk in.
This is your problem that you've created.
They've walked into the last year they had the Penn State game. This year is the Ohio State and the Michigan game. They walk into all those games waving the white flag immediately as they get in there. There is no, let's go in and give them an upset. It's let's get in and get out and let's not get everybody hurt. And let's move on to the next one. What are we doing? Anyway. All right. So
he's had pros at every position. He's had pros at every position except for quarterback. I want to be totally fair.
Right. He's done a lot of good for the program.
I want to be totally fair about this. At some point, we can't just be doing this.
Right. At some point, we can't be clinging on to 2019 because as fun as that year was, and it was a blast, it's 4 years ago now. So, okay, Corey, here's another take that I've been thinking of, and I need you to either talk me off the ledge or with 2 feet or 2 hands or 2 feet, I guess, if you want to.
Maybe I'll shove you off the ledge with 2 hands.
Yeah, or kick me. I don't know. Either way. So here's my take. So the guy's name for the Broncos, whose name escapes me, the safety who had the hit on Josh Dobbs that caused the fumble, or was on the fumble play. Mm-hmm. He got suspended for 4 games because he just got off of like a game suspension.
Yep, Kareem
Jackson, yes, dirty player. And he got a hit on Dobbs. They didn't call it on the field. There was a fumble on the play. It didn't cause the fumble, but it would have negated the fumble. And of course, like there goes the whole rigmarole, like Sean Payton's defenses are dirty. Imagine that. And since he got suspended, Vikings fans everywhere go, but it doesn't matter because he didn't call it in the game situation. So cool, he got suspended. But like that dude was legitimately coming off a suspension for not just like, what am I supposed to do? It's not that, defenses can't play anymore. The dude's legitimately headhunting with his own head. Like that's something that would have been called for a penalty in the 80s. and he's doing that. But my take is a lot of Vikings fans need to get over that it was a non-call a little bit here. I know it led to a field goal, and it did change the game. My take is that, like, guys, when you do this after a loss, it just looks like you're kind of whining a little bit here. And the Vikings did so many other things to lose that football game that you can't point to that one decision. First of all, again, a too cute play call by Kevin O'Connell, having TJ Hawkinson, who's never taken a snap under center, pitch it to Josh Dobbs, who then puts him out in a chance to get smoked the way he did. Josh Dobbs went to the medical tent after that play to get evaluated. Like, my whole thing is, like, that whole thing was a disaster from the get-go. Now, it should have been a penalty. But my whole thing is, am I overreacting or am I onto something here?
Well, let me tell. I think here's my initial reaction to this is, you've brought this specific play up twice now this week, and here's my first answer is I think you're overreacting to the Hawkinson play.
Okay.
I think that's the first thing. I think you brought that play up a couple times. You just hate it. And you've called it too cute on multiple occasions. I'm not that bothered by the play. That would be the first thing I would say. The second thing I would say to your main point is, yeah, man, I think you're right. It's easy when you lose and your favorite team loses to nitpick all of the things that went that felt like an injustice.
Well, especially when it's the other team infracturing upon you, because then you can kind of scapegoat it a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. And to your point, this guy, Kareem Jackson, his name, he had previously been suspended for 4 games.
It was his first game back.
And the reason why is because that suspension got reduced to 2 games. So the reason why you suspend a guy for 4 games is because you think that's how much time he needs to learn his lesson. And then you're like, nah, 2 games is good enough. And then he comes right back and now he'll be suspended for 4 games. The actual suspension should now be 6 games to even out the 2 suspensions. Either way, I don't like the play by that guy. It should have been called for a penalty. It wasn't called for a penalty. I mean, if you go into the grocery store and you pull pork loin off the shelf and you just walk right out of the store and you just steal it and somebody from the store doesn't shoot you in the face, does that mean you should no longer then get arrested either? Like, what? I got away with it then. You found me a week later and arrested me? That doesn't make sense. He's punished for his wrong, his ill intent.
Yeah.
I have no issue with that. It was missed. Things get missed. They punished him later. They got it right.
Yeah.
What else can you do? I'm with you. I don't think that's a thing Vikings fans can nitpick, considering again, 3 turnovers.
Yeah, 3 turnovers. That was one of 3 turnovers. If you don't commit the other 2, then whatever. But yeah, yes. And also it just comes after a loss, so it's really hard to not come away, even if that's not your intent. I'm not saying that's what every fan is doing. It's just really hard to come away with that. So here's the other thing, Corey. Minnesota Timberwolves, they still are the number 1 team in the West. Their best start since the 01-02 season.
20 years?
Yeah, they are undefeated at the Target Center. It's their best start at the Target Center, I think.
6-0?
Yeah, 6-0. I think it ties a franchise record. They're 9-0 when Cat and Ant both score 20 points, which they did last night.
Which makes sense. That's not like
when your best 2 players have good games, you typically win.
Correct.
Yeah. So they both have good games. Cat is playing really, really well.
Yeah, I don't even know if you could call it sneaky good. He's just been straight up awesome for 2 weeks.
He's been straight up good. Rudy Gobert has been the ultimate rim protector. Teammates know how to play with him now. They can set him up for lobs. They understand how he defends down at the rim. It feels like everything is kind of coming together the way that Tim Connolly and Chris Finch thought when they traded for Gobert, and the Cat didn't have to rim protect. And Gobert could do that, and Ant can continue to be Ant. How much stock are we buying in this Wolves team? I know your thought is always when things get weird, you're ready to leave. But how has your opinion on the Wolves changed, and kind of how are you expecting to follow them throughout the season, kind of just on a gut level?
Well, there's certain levels of maturity that are subjective.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you can pin them on certain things, but there are things like Are you helping your teammates score points, Anthony Edwards? Cool, you can do it yourself. Are you a playmaker for other people?
And he has been.
And he has been. There's things like, do you care about playing good defense on the ball and help? Playing good help defense is a sign of maturity.
Mm-hmm.
Playing bad on ball defense is a sign of ability.
Right.
Like if you can't play good on, but you can always be there to help somebody. That's a sign of maturity and understanding the game and understanding the game plan. They're doing that extremely well.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to be inconsistent. They're inconsistent personalities. They're going to be inconsistent offensively. That's just the way the game goes. Can you continue to be strong mentally and help people defensively, playing good? I mean, all of that stuff they shine on that end of the floor in ways that they haven't before. It's a good thing happening right now.
A good thing happening. All right, there we go. This has been the morning sports desk for Tuesday, November 21st. It's 7:32 on KWAD. Here's MNN News.
Minnesota News Network.